Hi.
From the Pine and Water Studio.
Yes, this is kind of watery.
Then I guess it's a brand.
Yeah. Should have a spoon. Is it ASMR-y?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it kind of is.
With the ice balls?
Yeah.
Because they're not cubes, they're balls.
They are. I mean, I don't think they're even balls.
No,
they're
don't
like actually make it all the way.
Almost spherical, but they're like missing a third.
Yeah.
Not even like the waning moon.
No.
Or maybe kinda, I don't know. Anyway.
Hi, I'm the Pine.
And I'm the water, and you're listening to A Cup of Tea.
A podcast about exploring life through each other's eyes.
While sharing a cup of tea with you. Ha! No incense. It was smooth.
It was nice. I don't love when it goes well.
Oh, you want to fuck it up?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh.
It's just nicer and it's funny.
I think we need to get the actual physical board thingy with the no incidents still. But yeah.
We'll get it.
Anyway.
So, what are you having?
I am having coffee because I was dead upon arrival today.
Very. I was surprised. I was amazed. I was being sarcastic and she didn't even get that. That's how dead she was.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I took a long tour to come here because I had to go to Home Depot before to pick up some stuff.
Oh, I didn't know you went to Home Depot.
And it was the last day. Like, I ordered for pickup and they send you an email saying, it's ready, you can pick it up. Which was technically on Monday. But on Monday, I forgot. Because we had Canadian Thanksgiving. So I was like, I'll just pick it up later. And then on Tuesday, I didn't even have a reason to go over there. So I was just like, I guess we will not do that today. And then today, I was like, okay. I even got an email from Home Depot saying, this is your final reminder. If you don't pick it up, we will refund you and cancel the order. And I was like, wow, I've never had that happen to me. So I had to go pick it up and then come here.
I see.
So it was a long way.
Anyway, sorry. I'm drinking mint tea. And it's really nice. Thanks for asking.
Oh, right. Sorry about that.
Dead.
Yeah. Wow.
I really need to get another steamer thing.
That's horrible.
We'll put it in the mushroom cap.
Cute. So what are we talking about today, actually? I remember now.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Today we're talking about the fact that everybody seems to be getting married these days.
Yeah.
What's that about?
It's like, I feel like it's a trend that I started noticing when, the first couple that I knew was getting married that was in my, not close circle.
Just in your context.
But was when I graduated from college. There was a girl who was with me in kindergarten. And so we've technically known each other basically all our lives. We were never really super close friends or anything. And she's the first person that got married when we all graduated.
So how old was this?
I guess 23? 22, 23? I don't know exactly. Yeah, she must have been 23. I know. And the wildest part of it now was that, at least to me, it was really funny, that when I went to that wedding of my friends that we were talking about a couple episodes ago.
When you went to Mexico?
Yes. She was there. We were sitting together. Like, she was beside me at the table. And her husband was there, of course. And he looked like such a married man. If you can imagine that, like, I don't know, like, and the way I saw it, I was saying that to my friends was like, wow, parece super señor. Like, very, he looks like he has his whole life figured out. He was, at least for the wedding, he was wearing a suit and he was very, very serious looking and very, very grown up. It was like a vibe. He was exuding grown uppiness.
What?
In a way that I've never seen with anybody my age. I don't know how old he is, but it felt like he was 40. Which I'm sure he's not. He's like 20, I don't know, 28, 29, 30 tops.
Jinx.
But yeah, he just had a vibe to him that was like aged.
Interesting.
And even in the way he behaved, kind of, it was, I don't know, really interesting. And like, I feel like he maybe took a pill, and now he jumped from being in our generation to being like, he can sit at the parents' table and fit in perfectly.
Wow.
I don't know. It was really funny. And now they have a baby. And I feel like in their context, in their particular family situation, they're very traditional. And so I feel like they fit the mold perfectly in that traditional way of being that they're in. Yeah.
I wonder, kind of, if the tradition of it for the people that are more conventional, if it helps them somehow.
I mean, to me, in that same moment of observing them as a couple interacting, they felt so much like, especially her, to me. I mean, she's super nice, and it was great chatting with her, and it was cool. But there were moments when I could hear her talk to other people that are more of her friends, closer to her, where she was saying, "Oh, and I don't remember the name of her baby, but the baby did this, and it was funny." And so it felt like watching a cartoon of my parents or adults, like,
Oh,
as
wow.
if she were playing an adult now.
Oh, wow.
And it was so funny. It was like, "Oh yeah, look, do you want to see a photo of my baby?" And I felt such a distance from that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the cartoon thing is very funny. Like, I get it. It's very, and the distance, it's so far away that I get it's like a teenager, let's say, that's playing an adult.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what it felt like with her, not with him. He was
an actual adult playing an adult.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Which was so interesting. She gave me very like housewifey vibes, and it was so interesting to observe. Yeah. So again, and from the people that I know, she's the one that's been married the longest now, because it's 5 years almost.
Wow.
So
they're going strong and steady.
Yeah. At least from what I could tell. So
wild. Like, I get it. It's not like I don't understand that we're at that age where we are getting married, as like our generation is getting married.
Yeah.
And Pablo has this very funny thing that he says, where at his graduation from college, I guess, one of the girls was saying that it was really cool, and that they were entering this stage of their lives, and it was going to be awesome because they were all going to be getting married in this decade or something like that. And Pablo felt a little bit like, what are you talking about? But it's funny. So does he, I guess the way he thinks about it is like, that is the way he says it to me. He kind of thought it was funny in a, so that's what you think of the times ahead, that we're gonna get married. And for Pablo, it's very like, oh, entering the world and trying to find a job and following your dreams and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It sort of lets you see the goals and the scope of what people have in mind for the rest of their lives, in a way. And of course it changes through time and all of that, but it's like when you can separate between the people that upon graduating from university are like, okay, now get married, have kids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if necessarily climb the corporate ladder, but sort of take a more, I don't know, linear approach to life, not be maybe so experimental with it or so off the road. Where other people are more like, oh, maybe I'll go study or maybe I'll start working. I don't know when I'll get married. And so, yeah, it's very like, follow the path that's been laid out for you, kind of, versus find stuff out along the way. I don't know. But it gives me that vibe, like, of being able to sort of, separate between these two kinds of people, I guess. Not that they're necessarily just two kinds, but
yeah, for sure. I feel like lately we've had so much talk about marriage and divorce lately.
Yeah,
because on Pockets we just talked to our friends. I mean, we didn't just talk to them, but the episodes came out recently where both the guy and the girl talked to us about their experience, not once they were married, but
on the way to
getting married. Yeah. Exactly. And it was very surprising to me because they're both very from a very religious context and very conservative families.
Yeah.
And so they had been together for a few years, I think, like 3 or 4. And they hadn't lived together, but in order to live together, they had to get married. And at first, that was very, it was very astonishing to me. Like, how, on this day and age, how do you get married without living with a person?
Yeah.
Which, to my mom, is still wrong. And I'm still like, what? But anyway, we can talk about that later. But just, okay, so at first it was very astonishing to me. And then I talked to them, and all of that aside, I was very proud, very happily amused that it really seemed like they really thought about it. Yeah. That they really ponder about this great decision of their lives. Because I am, the more time passes, the more convinced I am that the greatest, the most important and significant choice you can make in your life is not your career, is not the city that you live in, is nothing but the person that you're going to spend your life with. Yeah. And like, you could not spend it with a couple or like with a partner or whatever if you're single or something. It's like, but
so I was as a parenthesis, you know that book. So recently I was reading this book that I after an Ali Abdal episode where he talks to the author, who's I think she's a behavioral
psychologist?
something. She's a psychologist, but she's not a behavioral psychologist. She works on, I think, Hinge and as a consultant for dating and stuff like that. And her work is to do like analysis on how to get people together, which sounded kind of interesting in theory. The book was not the best. I guess
not your rec.
Yeah, not my rec. It was interesting because she gives a lot of scientific data and studies. She quotes so many things. I was just like, wow, if this were a name dropping competition, you would win. And there was a point where she said the single best predictor of something. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was like happiness or life satisfaction say, like or something like that. Is who your partner is.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it's the single most important thing you can choose in your life.
Well, and it makes total sense because that's the person that's going to spend the most time with you apart from yourself, because your friends you might not even see every day, your coworkers you won't see every day, your parents, your siblings, you won't see anyone except for the person that you choose to live with.
Yeah.
And even, I guess, if you have roommates and stuff, like, they're still very impactful in your life just because they're constantly in your life. But the level of intimacy that you're going to have with anyone is not the same as you're going to have with a partner.
Yeah.
So this thing that Pablo hates, the whole happy wife, happy life saying, it's very true. It doesn't have to be a wife, you know, like it can be just any of the partners.
Yeah.
If they're unhappy, you are going to be unhappy too. So, most important decision of your life, people.
Yeah.
And it seems to us, in our very narrow perception, third person, that there's some young people that don't really think about it. We might be wrong. We're just saying, like, just think about those people that seem that they're getting married, and it's just like, what are you doing?
And it was kind of funny that, yeah, it's like in this, because we're saying, oh yeah, we keep hearing about this in our lives, like the marriage thing. I even started sort of noticing some stuff more, like in this book that I was talking about. Logan talks about the fact that when you are in a relationship and you can't openly have a conversation at any step of the way, it probably means that you're not in a good relationship. And she first starts saying, okay, if you're with someone and you can't even start a conversation to define the relationship when you're just starting it, what kind of a precedent does that set for the rest of the stuff? And she talked a lot about sitting down and having difficult conversations and scheduling them.
Oh, wow.
Too, sometimes.
Interesting.
And there's also another guy that was in Ali's deep dive with who said the same thing. Like, you need to sometimes schedule important conversations so that life doesn't pass you by and you neglect your relationship. Because this guy, I don't remember his name, but he was talking about, I guess we can link it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that you know what we're talking about. So he was saying that he got a lot of people angry on Twitter because he said something about having a wife dinner, I think is what he called it, where he sits down with his wife very unromantically.
Oh, I think I know this.
To talk about their relationship and to do like a sort of checkup on everything. And I was thinking, yeah, I mean, I know so many people, and I've been one of those people that cannot even be serious and be like, okay, what are we doing?
She has.
That I was like, yeah, I see that. I know I should.
That's hilarious.
And she was even more going on, like the Logan Yuri woman was even going on to a step of saying, when you want to get married, you should have that conversation. Yeah. Not to say like, oh, in that moment you're going to propose and that's when you're getting engaged. No, but like actually sitting down and discussing where your relationship is going and what your goals for the future are and whether or not you kind of want to have children. So like in a very practical way, sort of pre-arrange the contract of your marriage to stipulate the basic stuff that you need in your life, that your partner needs in your life. So it's like, how many kids do we want? Would we be open to moving? What if someone loses their job? How much sex do you want to have? Yeah. What do you want to do when you retire? And so, I mean, I guess, again, those things may change through life, but she was like, yeah, do this. And then some people do this, where I felt very smart when she said that. I was like, oh, I thought of it before she said it. Of every 3 or 5 or 7 years, going back to that initial contract and taking a look at it and reevaluating.
Oh, nice.
So I was like,
a relationship
agreement. Yeah. And it took me back to when I was with some friends ages ago, and one of them was like, relationships should have like 7-year contracts that could be renewed if you want to, but it's not forceful.
Yeah. And you're like, are we renewing another 7 years or are we not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm up for that.
That might be a
And
new
I said
thing.
it to an adult. And I don't know who it was, but they were like, that's stupid. Why? You just do that normally. And I was like, I mean, I guess if you're in a healthy relationship, ideally, yes. But this makes it such like a sort of, it's marked on a calendar and you have to do it kind of thing. And so when you have to do it, I think you're more prone to taking it seriously, to actually evaluating things and not letting yourself be carried away by life.
Plus, I feel like it's an alternative. Instead of a till death do us apart thing.
Yeah.
If it's just for the next 7 years and then we'll evaluate, then, one thing that I really liked from Mariana's episode about her going into marriage was she was saying that it's so you as an individual have your plans and the things that you want in life. But I think it's important that once you decide that you're going to partner up for life, then it's no longer like there's space for flexibility. But the point is that it's no longer the things that you want, but the things that you as a team, as an item, decide from now on. And I feel like sometimes it's very difficult to understand that part of, let's say, me as a young person. It's like, oh, I have all of these dreams in my life and I need to find a partner that's going to fit with all of these things. And if they don't, then it's bye-bye because they don't fit my thing. And as much as I do agree that there's some individuality always and some things, some non-negotiables that it's your essence and it's a thing or your passion or something. There must be flexibility to understand that you're coming into a new thing. You're beginning something new that is not just you. And I don't know how much that's taken into account. Just in general, I just really liked it when she said it. It was very refreshing. It was very like,
I'm intrigued now. Look through each other's eyes. We should have a cartoon of that. I don't know. So that's what you think? I mean, I don't want to sort of tell you what I'm thinking. I don't know that I'm going to bias you, but so that's what you're thinking? Like you're coming from your side, and in this case Pablo's coming from his side, and now you're like assembling one new thing. What happens to, I mean, you were saying, yeah, you have the individual part still, but like how much
so
does it like
here's kind of the thing
change?
That I think it depends on what level of things you're thinking about. So for example, I've always wanted to have a tiny house. I don't know that I can get Pablo into a tiny house. So it's one of those things that I would like. It's one of those things that could be a fun project. And I don't want to get rid of that dream just because I'm with Pablo. But I am flexible enough, like, oh yeah, I would love to have a tiny house. And maybe one day I will have it. But I'm not thinking of it as Pablo will definitely move in this tiny house because it's what I want. So it's just, maybe I'll just build it because it's fun and it'll be an office space or like, who knows, you know? But there has to be that flexibility. Or for example, I've always wanted to, or I've dreamt that I will live somewhere in the countryside or in a cabin or something cute like that. And Pablo is more of I want to live in the 27th floor of a super high building and super fancy like that. So we've said that while we are young, we will live in the building, in the city. And when we are older, and maybe after kids or whatever, then we'll live in the countryside. We'll have a farm and I'll have a cow. So it's just kind of playing a little bit around with what we want. And because it's, for example, if Pablo somehow told me that I couldn't be working on the Pan and Water Company, then that's a different thing. You know, that there has to be a way to make this work in my relationship. This is a thing that can't be like, well, I guess I'll just get rid of it and do something else. You know, so I think it just kind of depends what's the thing that we're talking about. But yeah, I don't know. I feel at some point when I was younger and I didn't really get into relationships that much, I would have been way more selfish. I probably was way more selfish if you ask my ex-boyfriends.
Go on, feed them all. Even I can say.
See? There you go. So I do agree with Mariana that you are coming into this as a new thing. It's not just you plus me. It has to be us.
It's interesting because I know there's times when you have to give, like, it's not always 50-50. So there's times when you have to be more patient, you have to be more understanding. Now's your time to do the thing you want, and the other person has to wait a little bit. But I see that lack of that same honest conversation of maybe not is exactly about determining where in your relationship you are and if you're official now, but it's, I guess, being more realistic about life and about your circumstances and what you can expect from this person and taking care of each other in that way. That it actually reminds me of a Will Smith thing that I think it was a video that he recorded and it went viral because he was talking about his relationship with Jada and how it was not his job to make her happy. Yeah. And I feel like these people, and they're not the only couple that I know that are like that, do feel like it's their job to make the other person happy. And I just see that and I'm like, no.
That's a tough one. That,
And I don't know. I mean, I think we're going to get to this point where it's not the same thing necessarily, but you just told me yesterday of this other two people that we know that are getting married for different reasons. But along the same lines, how much have they thought this through? And it was kind of funny to me that when you said it and you were like, oh yeah, they're getting married. Well, it got me thinking. So not to talk specifically about them. I wouldn't talk about myself. That egotistical. No, I'm just kidding. But it actually got me thinking because there was a moment where in our conversation you said, oh yeah, is it just for the paper and whatever. And I thought, wow, like I went back to all those conversations we've had before where I've said, oh yeah,
it's just a paper.
It's just a paper.
She says that.
But the thing is, I think there's a nuance to how you say that it's just a paper. Because at least the way I think about it, as much as it is just the paper, I'm saying it's just the paper because in my mind, there's a given of we've already established that we're sharing our life and we're sharing our finances and maybe we have, I don't know, property together or whatever. Like, to me, just the paper is like, it's like
just to make it official?
Like the cherry on the cake. Yeah.
It's legally. Just to make,
yeah. But considering, at least for me, because that's the way I sort of frame it in my mind and the way I think about it, it's the last thing you do because you're kind of already doing all
so you're
of that.
Already doing it, you're just making it
official.
Legal.
Yeah. And then the other way of interpreting it, which I think is kind of the vibe that this couple is giving me, is, I guess if you see it, now that I'm saying it, I kind of envision it as a pyramid where like the marriage certificate is at the top of the pyramid. And so to me, like you build up for that. Yeah. And I feel like they're taking it the opposite way from what I am thinking, where you start from the bottom, right? No, they're like starting at the tip of we're getting married, here's our marriage certificate, and then they're slowly having or not having necessarily, I don't know, depending on their arrangement, I guess, going through the rest of the stuff where like, oh, now our finances start together and our taxes and the I don't know, legal complexities of being married to someone.
I also wonder, because let's not forget how I'm not too close to them, so I don't know a lot about what's going on, but just, we don't even have to talk about them specifically. It's just a scenario. But remember how many times I've heard that you don't just marry a person, you marry their family?
Yeah.
Did anyone think about that here?
I don't think
do people think about that?
I feel like not enough. And yeah, there's in this in these all these couples that we've mentioned, and I can even sort of categorize the ones that I think have a good relationship with the family. Like, for example, the first couple at the wedding that has a baby, the adult, whatever. At the same wedding, they were telling this story about going off on vacation with his parents and how she got super drunk, kind of like by accident, because they kept giving her like shots, and she was toasting with the mom and with the grandma and with the dad, and like she ended up throwing up beside the pool or something. It was apparently really funny. And she has a great relationship with her mother-in-law, because then the mother-in-law was like, oh my God, like,
that's funny.
It was funny, but you shouldn't do that. But it was funny.
Okay.
But like in a nice way.
Yeah.
Right? And like with Mariana and Diego, the friends that are in our pocket, it's like they have a good relationship with each other's families. I've seen it. So it's cute. And then on the other side of the people that haven't even thought about it, I mean, I don't really know, but like, do they know each other's families?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe. I mean, but how much can they really know each other?
Yeah, no. And I guess it's a little bit different, because if you're in another country, maybe your family won't be as present.
Yeah.
As in other cases. But still, it's like, I think apart from the fact, at least to me, apart from the fact that you're like marrying the other person's family, the idea that your family doesn't like the person you're marrying.
Now we're talking about such
a yeah. But like along the same line of marrying family and whatever. Yeah. Like, if you don't know them, it depends on how close you are to your family, I guess. But if your family doesn't know the other person that you're marrying, or if they don't get along with them, I feel like that's such a bad thing. Like, such a red flag.
That has to be very difficult, because I feel like you would have to probably cut your family off from your life a lot, because you're not going to cut off your partner.
Exactly. And it takes me back to another pocket that we were recording, or when was it a pocket? Was it our interview with my aunt, who was saying, "You young people, don't cut your family off, because that was your support system."
No, that was her on our pocket.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was
she was saying, don't cut off your family, because they're your support system, and even though you don't love your family 100% of the time, they're still always there for you, except for some specific, particular families that might have difficulties. But yeah, so I don't know.
I don't know either. But so along the lines of this, because now I just want to talk about like you and me.
Yeah.
How? Of course. So you think of this, of marrying just as a paper, just because it would be convenient legally?
I think so.
Would you not? Like,
would I not get married?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, and I don't know, I've thought about it a lot.
I'm having thoughts too.
And I've thought about, it's just the paper. And there's a part of me that's like, sort of the equivalent of being like the cool teenager that's like anti-establishment kind of. Because there's a rebel side to that that I know is there. And so, yeah, on some level, I do think it is just a paper. Once, as I said before, you have gone through like that pyramid of building up what constitutes a marriage, basically. So, to me, whether you have the government paper or not doesn't mean much if you have sort of the content already. So if I have a relationship with somebody that we're like, we live together and we have plans for the future and we have sorted out our finances and we kind of think, oh yeah, we want to live together forever or for, I don't know, 7 years.
I wonder if you could actually make that contract. I feel like a marrying contract, that's not just for life. It's just 10 years and then you can renew it or dissolve it.
I don't know.
Couldn't you? If you can make up contracts?
I guess so. I mean, marriage is a contract, and I guess maybe you could do it as a prenup. I don't know if the legal configurations of a marriage certificate allow you to put
a date
on it. Yeah.
Interesting. I just feel like marriage is such an old concept. I mean, old, quote unquote, depending on how you see it. But yeah, what if this is our new millennial way of getting together? I don't know. Do go on.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's my ideal, or no, maybe not ideal, but the way I've thought about it before. And then if I'm a little bit more, I don't know if realistic, but if I go back a little bit more to not just being practical and rebellious, and I remember that, oh, having a wedding sounds cute. And it sort of signifies a milestone, or it sets like a checkpoint. I don't think it's a starting point, but it's sort of like a separating a moment of separating like your previous life to some other thing. Yeah. So it's more, I don't know, very symbolic. So I'm wondering if the going through that ritual, I guess, or something, changes the
dynamic somehow.
Yeah,
I wonder
and
that
like
too.
the given, the expectation,
especially the expectations.
Yeah.
I do feel that. And so in my relationship with Pablo, there are times still where we've said before, I don't know if on ACOT necessarily, but definitely on Pockets, that when we first started going out, we established that before anything else, we were going to try to be each other's friends. And even later on, when we did decide to become boyfriend and girlfriend, just officially, just as a social label, it was still, we're first friends and then boyfriend and girlfriend. And I can catch myself where I have moments where I have the label on of girlfriend. And it comes with a set of expectations. It comes even with a set of behaviors. It's a really funny thing. And sometimes when that gets stereotypical and it harms us in some way, I have to step back and be like, wait. I'm his friend before I am his girlfriend. So I can only imagine that having a wife label would be an even more intense situation with way more strict and greater, deeper, I don't know, rules or expectations that you're supposed to fulfill and how you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to say in this scenario or the other one.
Yeah.
You know? Especially, I guess, even depending on your social circle, I feel like that can be very tricky. Because then when me and Pablo decided to be boyfriend and girlfriend, it wasn't a romantic thing. It was a very conscious decision to say it was a social signal. It was a social signal to the people around us that we were together and that we were not taking anybody else. So that's the only reason it became official, because we just started dating and hanging out and just being a couple, and it just kind of happened. And at some point, we noticed that socially, not having the label was affecting us. And so we decided to have it. And then the whole having the label coming with its own said, it's like, oh, you're now boyfriend, girlfriend. Here's your boyfriend package. And here's your girlfriend package. And I've been thinking about marriage lately, of course, because it's all the editing that I do is all about marriage and divorce lately. So I've been thinking about it, and at some point, like earlier years, I also thought of, I want to get married once I know that I'm ready to have kids. And I kind of still feel that way. That can be a thing, a way to approach it. I was talking to Pablo about it.
Social constructs.
What do you mean?
It's just, it's funny to me to hear it. I mean, it's obvious and you hear it all the time. But the idea that, oh yeah, I want to have kids, so I'll get married when I'm ready to have kids, feels like there's a construct behind it. Like, marriage is this institution that we've invented. And so you are ready to sort of shift your mind, kind of, or shift your reality when your mind about this one specific thing has changed. I don't know. It just sounded very, I don't even have a word for it, but very like made up.
Interesting. Well, the way I think of it is because, again, we've talked about...
Okay. Well, as a parenthesis, like, because what will realistically, I guess, and this is where I guess part of my first thought comes in. What will marriage give you for having kids that you don't already have?
Yeah.
Right now, for example, right? I mean, and I know there's like a couple of things, and there's that first thing that I said about like maybe it's like a blanket expectations or a set of rules and behaviors and whatever, and social like labels for other people to refer to you, and so I think that's part of it. But yeah,
well, on the one hand, I really like, again, something that Mariana said, because we were talking about getting married and stuff, and at some point she mentioned that she knows this couple and they've been together for years and they have kids and like a long time. And they just got married. And Mariana was like what? Why now? If at all? And then I asked her, I don't remember what it was about them, but then I asked her, like, why at all? Why do you need or something, need to get married? And what I liked is that she mentioned that part of it was to signal, again, to their families that they were doing this. They were serious about each other. And this is the project. Because the way they talk, which I actually appreciate a lot, their whole vocación thing, the vocation, is that exist? Okay.
In English. Guess so.
I guess. Because
your calling?
Yeah, they're coming from a very religious background, Catholic. And they talk about how they were taught that there's 3 paths or callings in life. And it's to be religious, to be single, or I don't know if it translates in the same way, or to be married. And it's funny how I find it funny that someone came to them and said, there are 3 ways, 3 paths that you can choose in life. And like it was Pokemon, like you can choose one of the 3 starters. So... That's how I thought about it. Nobody came to me and asked me which Pokemon I wanted. So she said that it was a signal to their families. And not only that, okay, we're serious about this, we want to unite and have this life project together. Because they also talk about that, how they're starting a life project together. But also to kind of get the families together and ask for advice and guidance and things. So I appreciate that. And I also think there's something to rituals that's in our nature that, as cool as we want to be, I think they're important. And And I feel like it's unfair now to say that a wedding or a party is superficial or frivolous or stupid. It might be all of those things. It just really depends on each case.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there's something about it. And when I say that I have that thought of once I'm ready to have kids, then I want to be married, I feel like it's a lot of that starting a life project, the before and after situation, getting the families, signaling to them, like this is happening. This is, if you don't believe it yet, you're gonna now.
Mm-hmm.
And just for our own psyche, our own emotional experience, I feel like it's very important. So, but so I have all of those thoughts on one side, and on the other one, I guess there is but why really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's still, I feel like I can still hold the possibility of not doing it if I don't really have an answer for why. Because I guess along the same lines that you're talking about the rebelliousness, there is a little bit of me that's still like, is it as made up as it is, because it's made up? Do I have a purpose for it? Do I have or is it just because that's what we've been taught? That's what people do?
Yeah.
So I'm holding both of them right now. Just because I don't know. But also, I'm gonna be done soon, I promise. When I think of getting married right now, in this hypothetical scenario, we're like, oh yeah, everybody's getting married. Like, what if I got married right now? I don't see it. It's just, it doesn't compute in my head that I'm at that stage in my life. It's I don't know. I wonder if I don't know, when we talked to Andy about her baby and stuff, I don't know that she had this thought where it didn't compute in her brain that one day she was just Andy and the other day she was the mom. So I don't know if it works the same way. I wonder if the girls around us that are getting married really see themselves.
Switch. Oh.
Like really see themselves as,
oh, I'm a wife now, or something.
Yeah, I can't yet. For as much as because we've been saying that you should have these conversations. It's not like Pablo and I are getting married tomorrow, but we do talk about marriage and relationships and things. Just even want to know each other, but also just to talk about things. And like, for sure, I know that he's not there. And as much as I talk about marriage and relationships and things, I think when it comes down to it, is it like, I feel like I'm too young. Like, I actually feel like I'm too chiquita to be married, which is something we say in Mexico, like, estoy chiquito. Like, I can't. What are you talking about?
I'm like 15.
Which I know I'm not, and maybe a switch will flip in the next couple of years, and I'll be like, oh no, yeah, I am a wife now, or I could be a wife now, but it's not there yet. It's weird AF.
It is, and see, that's why I don't want to poke into what my future to be recorded pocket will be.
Well, I'll be in another channel, so it's okay if you poke a little.
It's okay. I've been thinking a lot lately about the purpose of all these things.
Like relationships in general?
Yeah. Like, why get married? Why have a boyfriend? Why have kids? Like,
why?
Why would you do all of these things, right? And there's a part of my brain that is like, well, it's what you have to do. what you've
What you
always
have to
been
do?
told that's how life goes. And
Okay.
there's it's just a given. I feel like it's a given societal expectation of
it's just what life is.
Yeah, that's life. Exactly.
Just like get together at some point.
And then there's I guess there's the ideal part of that, or the concept of it, and then there's the enactment of that concept, where it's like the meme or the scene in every comedy rom-com movie that's like, and where's the boyfriend, you know? Which I don't really have a lot of people in my life that are like, where's the boyfriend?
Say it?
Yeah. Except for my grandma once in a while. It's just like, any like interesting dating news?
That's funny. Your nonna or really?
Yeah.
Oh,
my nonna.
cute.
She remembers this one guy that I went out, and she keeps asking me about him. Which
That's
is funny.
hilarious.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, he left already, like that. And so yeah, and then so that's like her asking me, and is there a boyfriend? But it's not pressuring me. It's not like, where's the boyfriend? You need to get married right now. No, exactly.
You're an old maid now. Where's your husband?
And then there's the other side of that same sort of, I guess, pressure in that other side of, for example, my cousin, who was always thinking when we grew up, oh, I'll be married, I'll have like the Prince Charming type of relationship, and I'll have met him at 15 and we'll be married and have children by the time I'm 30 or something along those lines. And kind of because she said it, I sort of believed that too, but I had my own version adjusted to what I knew. Oh, how to get a boyfriend, what you need to do to have a relationship,
like
and those
Venus and
like
Mars
dating
and
advice books that I fucking hate. And I feel like that
Strong feelings.
book, no, I seriously just freaking hate them. Because in this, even the Logan Yuri book from Ali's show is also on dating, like how to date. But I was listening to it, and I just felt so grossed out by it. Because it gave me this feeling of it's dating for dating's sake. It's like,
because you have to.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's not that she says that you have to date, but she's saying, well, if you want to date and if you want love and you have a steady partner and whatever, this is what you need to do. So it feels very systematical, very, very, these are the steps, and you need to be like a serious dater, and you need to go out and do these things, and in a way that she does, it's very practical. It's very practical advice, right? For somebody that is taking it very seriously. Like, I really want to date and I really want to find a partner. And I just, it just took so, like, the life out of it for me. And that's where I think we were having this conversation the other day where I said, what's the point? And I had this whole, what's the word for that? Realization.
Epiphany?
Yes, the epiphany of what is the point? I don't want to just be serially dating 100 people because I am single-mindedly looking to be in a relationship. That's not my goal.
So what is your goal? Do you have a goal?
I don't.
I mean, relationship goal?
I don't know. I think in that book, like the type of people that that book is useful for, like their relationship goal. No, I don't think it's even for her.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like she's not there anymore.
Oh, but she was.
But yeah,
it is that kind of book, like for
yeah. I guess for like her herself, 10 years ago or something. It's for the type of people whose goal is to have relationship status, like in the Facebook relationship status, some like, oh, dating or married or whatever, you know, like, yeah, that. And I think what I told you at that moment was, I don't think it's not for the sake of being in a relationship, because I feel like you can be in a terrible fucking relationship, but you're in a relationship, so technically you did it.
Don't do it.
No, it's more like when I meet somebody that I like, and that I'm like, oh, I like it. I want to get to know you more. I want to see if this can get somewhere. What?
We've been here before.
We have.
Where you do find someone that you're curious about.
I know. But that's another, like, I mean, okay, the process of actually getting over my shit, it's a whole different episode.
I see. That's another cup of tea.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the ideal.
I see. Just meeting someone that's interesting and just like, wanting to hang out.
The fact that I'm terrible at it, following through with what I am saying that I want is another.
It's another trauma story.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. It's not dating for, I need to be with someone. Like, it's kind of like what my aunt was saying in her pocket.
Uh-huh.
Well, no, I don't know. It's like she said it in her pocket. I think it's something that she said to me. And I said in another episode of A Cup of Tea of learning to be alone. Like, I'm perfectly fine being alone. Mm-hmm. And I think there are people on the other side of that are terrified at being alone. You know? Mm-hmm. And I feel that I don't know, I kind of feel bad for those people that don't know how to be alone. Because I feel like the type of person that ends up in those terrible relationships because they don't know how to be by themselves. Mm-hmm. They're always like a serial dater. I feel like Taylor Swift is like
a serial dater?
Yeah, I don't know.
Always in a relationship?
Yeah, but like always in a relationship. And so what do you do when you're by yourself?
What do you do? Just be with yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not,
I mean, that's something else that your aunt said in our pocket. That she found herself in this place of being by herself now because she was separated and her kids left because they were grown up, and she was by herself, and she found that it was amazing. Yeah. And that was scary.
Yeah.
Which I find interesting. And I get it. I get the scariness of it because then you kind of, it's not that bad. Like, maybe it's just scary at first because I think that, like, between relationships, I've gone years without being in a relationship. And because, again, of all my traumas and stuff and being very lonely, like...
Loner?
Yeah, lonery. Not lonely, just lonery. I am very comfortable being alone. And that, I think that just means that you don't get trapped in bad relationships. I guess the scary part might be that you then don't give people an opportunity, or I don't know. I wonder, my mom, she's so used to, I don't know if comfortable, but she's so used to being alone. I don't know that she gives relationships a real try. Like, as soon as something happens that she's not very into it, she's like, bye. So maybe that's what happens when you're too comfortable being on your own.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit, I can see that. And I was watching Sex Education yesterday, I think, and there was a scene where Jean, the mom, goes to Jakob, the guy that she was dating, and he says something like, you're not ready for the... I think what he said is, you're not ready for the level of intimacy that I'm offering you, or something like that.
That sounds real.
Yeah. And then she leaves and she's crying, and I was like, I felt that.
Are you ready for a level of intimacy?
I've been thinking about that since you asked me. I've been thinking a lot about it because I feel like I am, or at least like I have been. But then my therapist the other day was like, what would you bring to a relationship? You have to think about that. And what is the intimacy development? She didn't word it like that, but like truly getting to know somebody and whatever. And I was afterward thinking about it, and I said, oh, I think it's very easy for me to be comfortable with knowing someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if somebody wants to get intimate with me and
As
bare their soul,
mm-hmm. As in close.
Yeah. I'm there for it.
Okay.
Like, sure, tell me all your secrets. I won't judge you, and I'll be there for you, and whatever. And I mean that genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other side of that, I'm like, slow. Like, I'm gonna like press the brakes
for
hard.
You to do that.
Yeah. Because I can sort of, I've caught myself I can share and I can talk about a lot of stuff. And just now, for example, with my new landlady, before coming here, we were chatting about, she was watching Sex Education too, and we were chatting about that, and I said something about Outlander, and we even ended up having this conversation about religion and witch trials, and
I like your new landlady.
I like it too. I like her too. And I told her something about, like, my childhood. Oh yeah, like when I learned about philosophy and I stopped believing in religion and whatever. So I feel like I can share a lot of stuff about myself, but then when it comes to people seeing my weaknesses, that's where I'm like, I don't know. What are you talking about? I'm perfect. I cannot let you see that I'm not perfect. So, yeah.
Interesting.
I know.
Very interesting. I feel like I'm hearing myself a few years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like, don't you see the whole how, like, when we had that conversation, you see it now. You see it.
Elaborate for the people.
So, like, a few years ago, okay. So,
this is way back.
Way back when.
Yeah.
We've had, I think, 3 fallouts in our relationship. And
yeah, 3.
And I think they are characterized by the fact, again, we each have our traumas and they just kind of collide with each other and make us fall out.
It's very stable.
Yeah.
Until it is.
Yeah. And so to get over our latest fight, we had to have this conversation where I had to tell you that I felt like I was always there for people, and I could, the most empathetic, and I'll be here for you, but I can't do that myself, right? Yeah. Because I'm alone, and I learned to deal with my own shit, so nobody else has to deal with my shit. I'll deal with it. And then that meant that you couldn't be there for me. So our relationship was very unbalanced. And it got us into this messy situations.
It was fucked up.
It was. And I learned and I let her in.
Yeah.
And it worked. And I've come a very long way.
Look at you.
But yeah, you see it now.
Wow, yeah, I see it now. Talk about life through each other's eyes, huh?
How the turntables, my friends.
The tables turned?
No. How the turntables.
Wow. Interesting.
I thought it was very interesting when you were saying it. I was like, you don't say.
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, lately I feel that a lot.
What is that about?
I don't know.
Because again, you were the other side of that.
I mean, okay,
so
I think that to therapize myself, I guess. There's the fact of life that, I've always been super nerdy and top grades and super good at school. I'm great at everything. And lately I've seen a lot of memes And there was one in particular that I was very amused by. And I don't know if I sent it to you or if I just told you about it. That it was this person, and he was singing this song. This like I don't know if that was very loud.
No,
but
it was fine.
And he was singing, if you are the eldest child of the family and you feel like you were rewarded for like academic success kind of or something, or for being good at stuff, so now you have compensated and you're a perfectionist and whatever. Okay, like he kept saying stuff. Clap your hands.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh man, yeah, totally, 100%. Because it's like being the eldest sibling, and yes, being good at school, and so associating being good with school with value. And if you're smart and you do things properly, then you're a valuable person. And if you don't, then you suck and you're not worth, like, tying your self-worth to how well you do stuff. And I saw that in myself, and it was like, oh yeah, I've done that in my life, in like, I guess, in waves. And I think this is one of those waves where I feel like that now. Yeah, no, there's times when I'm like, I got a 7 in biology. Fuck it, I don't care. And now it's time. Now it's a time where I'm like, I'm not perfect. What is wrong?
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, there it is. And that's why she's doing therapy.
Yes. Go to therapy too.
If you feel like that.
Yeah.
If that resonated with you at all, please go to therapy.
That sounded like, here's the like line, emergency line or whatever, hotline. I think if I again go kind of meta and go back to why do I want a relationship and all that, I think I'm being defensive by asking those questions, like trying to.
By asking what? Like, why do you want a relationship?
Like sort of, I can see that.
To push yourself away?
Yeah. Like, I don't need it. What are you talking about? Like,
what for?
Yeah.
Who cares? I'm too cool for this.
Yeah, exactly.
And yet I had this thought, I guess I said it before when we talked about it originally, of like, you keep telling yourself that, but I don't want to date for dating's sake and so on and so forth. And yet, you think about it a lot and you talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, and then you told me the whole dissonance thing. It's like, why? I guess it's a dissonance thing of how you say that you don't want it, but then I feel like it occupies a lot of your brain power.
It sounds like it's a lot. It's not that.
No, like, it's just in a casual way when we are not talking about work or life or things.
Yeah.
And along the line, the other day
I think it might
take
up like between 15%. I want to say 15% of my brain power. 15 and 10.
Constant brain power? Because that's a lot.
That's an average. There are days when I don't even think about it at all, but there are times when I'm like, we're having this whole conversation about it. So
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Because I was gonna say the other day we had this realization that we don't talk about guys a lot.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool. It was funny.
I mean, to sort of finish that circle of the epiphany, because the epiphany was, I keep going to like not dating for dating's sake, because I think I've never done that, but sort of having that notion in my head of, oh, date to find like a partner to, how was it? I wrote it down because I was like, oh my God. I don't think it's that.
Is this when we were having a conversation about, there's this guy
we were texting, which was really weird.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, I think is what I'm gonna say. We were having a conversation about this guy friend acquaintance that we have that was telling me that so I asked them, they're a little awkward, and I asked them if they've ever had a girlfriend. They said no. And so I was like, okay, fine. And then I asked if they wanted to, or like why or something, just, curiosity. And they said that they wouldn't have a girlfriend. Like they would postpone the relationship until they had their shit together, basically. Like he wanted to figure out having a job and just
a house
being successful in life to then have his first girlfriend, which I thought was a very peculiar way of approaching it. Because to me, it's more of a, I mean, in my experience, it just happened naturally, I guess. You kind of like someone and they like you back, and you just kind of, you're like, well, I like you and you like me, so I guess we're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. That was like middle school and stuff, where it's very sort of silly. So I think we were talking about that and his approach of like, everything has to be perfect and then I can have a girlfriend. And when I had the conversation with him, I was like, but you're not going to have any relationship skills for when you want to have this first girlfriend. And there's so much that you need that you learn through having relationships, whether I guess you just have one really long relationship, as some people do, that are with like their high school sweethearts or something, or when you have multiple partners throughout your life, or at the same time, who knows. But you learn a lot because it's, again, levels of intimacy that you don't necessarily have with your friends. So you're not going to have all of that, which is something that I kind of say to you sometimes.
Yeah. No comment.
But so we were having that conversation. We were texting that conversation.
Yeah. And it, like, I mean, now that I'm re-listening to this and I'm thinking about it a bit more, I think it goes back to that same perfectionism thing. And the
So it's not that your life has to be successful like him.
No, because I do. When you were telling me, I even thought of, no, that's ridiculous. Like, your life is never going to be perfect, right? But I'm not looking to have a perfect life because I know that constantly learning new things and improving and acquiring new skills and whatever. But it's more of a this is getting I was gonna say shit's gonna hit the fan, but no, it's not shit's gonna hit the fan. It's this is getting really, really deep, really, really intense. Because it's not about like achieving this perfect state of life, but it's about, and it sounds so stupid.
Say it.
But it's like then somebody realizing that I'm not perfect, and then bailing because I'm not perfect. Like,
because they are perfect?
No, but I mean,
I know, exactly.
I know that's why I'm saying it's so stupid.
Yeah.
Because I keep going back to, like, I don't know, this one conversation at some point where I had to decide on defining a relationship or not, and I bailed out of fear, out of I'm not perfect. I'm not, like, you're not gonna like me, so I'm not even gonna try it. And it goes back to the same thing. So it's like, I'm just gonna dodge that bullet and not even try to go for it. So, yeah, that's what I do.
That is the theme here.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to therapy to stop doing that.
Exactly. Any final thoughts on?
Well, we will not be getting married anytime soon.
Basically. Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So do you have a rec for today?
Right.
You said you did have one.
All right, it has nothing to do with relationships.
No.
The oversubscribed book by Daniel Priestley. Because we're trying to do a lot of things with the company. I feel this book was really cool. First of all, of course, again, we talk about Ali so much in this show. But I first listened to Daniel Priestley on Ali's podcast. And then, of course, they were talking about the oversubscribed book and some other of his books. And I was just listening to that one. And it was really cool. And it's the thing is that I feel like it's real. It's practical. It's just not wishy-washy. Because as I was listening to it, I would talk to you about how, at least in my experience, I don't feel like I was explained very well along this sort of paths idea that you can have with relationships. And you can dedicate yourself to religion, to being single, or to yourself. I don't know how they explain it. Or to a married life.
No, I think it's like you're consecrating yourself to Jesus, even though you're
but
not
that's
religious.
A religious one, no?
No.
So,
like, you can be religious, and that means being a nun or a priest
in the church.
or something along those lines.
And the other one's
you
just
can be single and like you dedicate your life to the service of like Jesus, and you're celibate. But it still has like a bit of a religious connotation. You're just not formally part of a religious institution. And then you're married.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Along the same like pets analogy thing. I feel like I was only told this, like, work for a company, and that's the way it happens. So I feel like this book brings it grounds very well the fact that you don't always have to work for a company, you know. Although he does suggest to work for a startup when you begin, because then that like helps you learn a lot. But just to me, it was very impactful to realize just again the groundedness of it. That there are other ways, you know, entrepreneurship and everything. And I feel like I did hear the word entrepreneur when I was younger, but it was very wishy-washy and very far away and very, you want to be, I don't know what I pictured in my head, but just a skyscraper and
Jeffrey Bezos.
Yeah, so it wasn't something that I could see myself as. And with this book, I felt like, you know what? It's not that complicated. It's not. I'm not saying it's the easiest thing, but it's doable, I think. And well, we'll keep you posted on that. We'll see how that goes. But that's my rec.
Nice. My rec is it's something that I talked about in a pocket. And it's like now I feel like it's very specific again. And it's if you start a new sport in particular, go to physical therapy. Because you learn a lot about your body and how it moves and how to move properly. And
is this because of the Peter Attia book?
No, it's because of my cousin who got injured from. We're doing this bar challenge, which is really cool, but she has no training on like dance or anything. She's always like doing classes at gyms and stuff, but she's never done bar, and she
extended.
Yeah, her knee, because she was not opening from the hip. I think she was opening just from the foot.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's taped her knee throughout now, and I had to give her like a 5-minute explanation of how to like move properly for the class because she didn't know. So, and also Peter Attia is like learn how to move, and there's a part in the book that I already wrecked where he's talking about how this trainer that he works with had him do a squat, and he has a before and after picture, and his before picture he's all askew and like moving to a side, and he was like, oh, I've been going to the gym for ages and I've been lifting weights, and we hear about proper form all the time. If you've ever gone to a gym and if you've ever lifted weights and stuff, like, oh yeah, proper form. But sometimes we don't really, like, we think we see it. And I thought of myself at the gym, like, oh yeah, I mean, I look at myself in the mirror and I don't know, I'm lifting a weight and I'm like, oh, is my elbow at the proper place and my shoulder, and like, am I compensating anywhere else? And very, very self-aware. And I'm not an expert at it, but I've slowly developed my proprioception to know where my body is and all of that. But I do think going to physical therapy and have people point out things to you, like if you are at dance class, I guess, and your teacher says, your foot is not turned out, then you pay attention to it and you learn, and it helps with your life. So that's my rec.
Very well.
Yes.
This was deep.
It was. I was not expecting it to get there.
Turn into a therapy session?
Yeah. Well, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for sharing a cup of tea with us. Send us your comments using the hashtag acotcast. And remember to subscribe to get fresh episodes every week.